Conclusion of the show. But right now we have our featured guest, retired Colonel Tom Lennox, is returning to the Global Financial Reset Show, and he served this nation in military, combat, intelligence, many fields and hats, honorably and incredibly for decades. It's wonderful to have the Colonel back on the show. He was also a comptroller for the Department of Defense back in the day as well. So please welcome back Colonel Tom Lennox.
Thank you, John. I wanted to make one comment on something that Josh said. He talked about the circular money. The circular money has been there forever. What they do is they borrow from one on Friday, they pay them back on Monday, and they use that money to operate to pay their debts in the weekend. It's absolutely
wow
what they've done for years. Anyway. Circular money.
Well, circular money. Well, you would know, having studied the books at very high level. So I've got a lot of questions I'd like to dig into here. But before I have you weigh in on various aspects of the global financial reset, some say that we may be heading for a financial collapse. And there's a lot of schools of thought on that. Most of the analysts and economists the world over have that viewpoint, but who's collapsing it? How it will collapse? Will it collapse, and when? Now, crystal ball questions, but do you believe, sir, we are, if so, in potential collapse? When will this happen, and what will be the cause of that collapse?
I believe there will be a collapse, but it will be almost a false flag collapse. And the reason I say almost a false flag is the alliance is doing everything it can to make the American dollar down to, I heard, 3 cents, worth 3 cents on the dollar some time back. That collapse will happen, and people will get very nervous because their bank accounts will disappear. But the reality is that the EBS 10 days will be followed by an opportunity for people to go in and find out how much money is really in their bank account. But it's not a bank account. So when we look at it, banking will disappear as we know it. There were some 235 executives from banks all over the world arrested over the weekend. That's a significant event. They also closed down, so far, at least 100 central banks. So when you look at those things, that is a collapse, because it's a collapse from the old to the new. The SWIFT system is gone. There is no SWIFT system. It's collapsed. Yet, if I want to transfer money to Europe under the SWIFT system, it would have taken me 3 to 5 days. I have transferred money in the last 2 years in less than 30 minutes. So when we look at it, it's a collapse of the structure you're used to, not a collapse of the economies. Because the BRICS
Very
system,
interesting.
BRICS was established as the predecessor for the global financial reset. It was done by five nations. They did it with Trump, talking to Trump every day. People don't understand that Putin and Trump talked about BRICS every day, literally every day, because that was part of the start of the major financial reset. And that's the goal.
And the BRICS nations.
All
the BRICS nations, you
transact
mentioned
business
5, right?
in gold. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, thus the acronym BRICS. And now, of course, the acronym would be so long because another 100 countries came aboard.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, to drive the dollars down pennies worth of value. I understand the dollar's down year to date about 10 to 12%. But I want to back up. You mentioned what I call the news behind the news. 100 central banks shut down, 235 banking executives ousted in one way or the other over the weekend. The storm is brewing, and we hear a lot about it. To our audience, we hear a lot in the drive-by social media and the drive-by world we now live in about these concerns, and we've just gotten some of the dots connected to substantiate those statements that the banking system is collapsing upon itself. Really, but let me move into this because you're touching on it. We are mid-transitioning, as you mentioned, from the deep state-controlled systems to a new system. In this stage of transition, I would say, I call this, before we arrive, where we've got past what we're about to endure in these various different forms of false flag related collapses, I think we're in what's called the danger zone, and for a lot of reasons. So the currency, the US dollar, as we mentioned, is under attack and trying to be dethroned by the BRICS nations and no longer being used as the petrodollar for international trade. So some say the death of the dollar is on the horizon. But President Trump begs to differ. He's gone up against the BRICS nations and says, you'll never take my dollar down while it is coming down. How do you see it ultimately playing out? What's your analysis of does the dollar fare? How does it get strengthened? What do you see happening? Because the president's not a loser, as we know. He's going to win one way or the other.
Yeah, but his win, he already made his win because the gold-backed dollar is all ready to go to the market. It's been ready for a year or 2 years. And so we'll have a dollar, but it's the gold-backed dollar that's going to trade one for one with everybody else in the world. So if you have an ounce of gold here and an ounce of gold there, and you're trading, they're both worth the same amount. And so he's saying that, yes, we're going to still have a dollar, but what that dollar looks like is a little different from what we have now. It's not going to be a fiat currency. It's going to be a gold and silver and other resources-backed currency, because we have the ability, we have more resources in the United States than virtually anybody else in the world that we can back our currency with. It's the problem has always been, we don't want to let people go mine in the many different places that we stole the property from people. That's going to change. It's already starting to change. And understanding that we've got these companies coming in from foreign nations, U.S. companies coming back, all of that is the dollar strength from the gold-backed dollar. And there's plenty.
Excellent. Well, it makes all. We'll talk about that in a minute. I got a follow-up question on plenty of gold statement in a moment. But sir, President, he used a campaign that Laura Trump kind of spearheaded back in the election process of 2020, the one that was stolen, and the slogan was "Promises made, promises kept." And they ran that, during that campaign because the president in his first term certainly delivered on his promises. And he's doing so now, sir, to what you just mentioned, because he said, I'm going to give you back your country. I'm restoring the power back to the people. Well, what does the Constitution say, folks? Currency is supposed to be backed by gold in weights and measures equal to dollar for dollar, as you've just stated. So it makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. But now, a couple of quick things. We'll come back to gold in a minute. But so we're going to restore the power of our currency. Again, not right now the dollar by all graphs and stuff is going down. But as you fast forward in this war, the economic side of the war, that battle, the dollar will be restored to the confidence because of the backing of gold, silver, and other resources, as you stated. But then it's my understanding, and I'm a layman in this area, it sounds to me like what once that's done in a series of sequential steps, I'm looking for correction or validation and commentary, is now we've got, fast forward, we've got our dollar backed by the tangibles, the God's resources in our country. And then we're going to move that paper dollar backed by those tangibles into a stable coin with still that backing that then gets encrypted in the QFS. And thus we don't need banks because we will be our own bank through some sort of QFS wallet. Am I speaking lunacy, or am I sort of hovering around the tiptoe steps of truth?
You're hovering right around it.
Okay.
But they're talking about the crypto wallet. I understood 4 years ago, that they had 8 billion cell phones to run QFS. Now, it may be that it's the crypto wallet, the card, and it may well be a cell phone that you have that operates on your frequency, your vibration, not on my fingerprint, not on my eyes, but literally on your DNA frequency, which is a very interesting thought.
It is very interesting. I'd like to delve into technology and AI later. It sure does. Let's come down the food chain of that stuff just for a moment, because I don't want it to slip past me. Gold, physical, tangible gold. I'll lay down a few things that I've come to learn about and have you weigh in on it. Obviously, Fort Knox, they floated it that they want to audit it, and then that narrative went away. Most of us, especially if you talk to people like G. Edward Griffin and Ron Paul, probably have a feeling that there's not much sitting there in Fort Knox. Now, there's that statement. Let's hang that Chad over there. Let's hang another Chad out there, and that Chad being the plane loads recovered from the tunnels under the Vatican. The Vatican, that place with the big wall to protect them. The Vatican that didn't want a wall to protect our nation. That
no longer has a Swiss guard.
Yeah. So tell me, sir, with all that gold that's been taken out on planes and other things I'm hearing about, discoveries of gold and other natural resources, what can you say about that? And do you believe, in your humble opinion, that we will get an audit of Fort Knox? Because I think that blows the lid off a lot of things.
I think the Fort Knox was a false flag. The gold that was brought back here from the Vatican in the 650 planes was worth $54 quadrillion. Now, that's enough for every man, woman, and child in the world to have $1 million, or the equivalent of $1 million. That gold was not brought back to Fort Knox. I believe it's in Cheyenne Mountain. Now, I'm not sure that that's where it is. It also could be in Reno, Nevada, because there's some big caves up in Reno, Nevada they could put it in and seal easily. So there is a lot of gold and a lot of silver. Where it is exactly, we don't know. And that's on purpose. Why should we know? Why do we want all those thieves in Congress to have access to know where the gold is?
Mm-hmm.
If we remember, the third building that came down on 9/11 had $2 trillion worth of gold in it. And that gold was somehow disappeared into the pockets of some politicians. So when we realize that, we don't want to have anything where any congressman or senator can get a hold of it, because we still don't know who the good ones and the bad ones are. You and I don't. Trump does.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I would just take a wild guess and say there's probably about 10% good, honest, constitutional people that followed their oath they took on both sides of the aisle. If we get 10% of that crop, we'd be lucky. That's how corrupt it is. And Cheyenne Mountain certainly seems to be the safest place in the world for our riches, for God's
That's
riches,
where Trump's
gold.
been.
Yep. Let me talk about Powell. I mentioned to Sean Morgan a moment ago. We know the public feud playing out between the president and the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and I realize there's a lot of games and optics going on, but I see the Federal Reserve and the IRS slowly being dismantled. But one specific move the president made in 2020, and certainly in the last year, with all we see at least being put out there for us. Do you see it this way? Do you see the dismantling of the Federal Reserve and the IRS? While some of these functions have taken place already, there's still entities that are out there. People are paying their taxes as they should right now, and so forth and so on. But what's your commentary on the dismantling of the Fed and the IRS?
70,000 people were furloughed from the IRS 5 days after the lockdown. They're not coming back.
Good.
And the IRS, I'll tell a little story. My brother wrote a letter to the IRS some years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, because it's voluntary. Payments to the IRS are voluntary. They're not required by any law. There's no law that requires you to pay taxes to the IRS. He wrote a letter to them, and they said they'd get back to him in 6 months. That's 2 years ago. They haven't gotten back to him. Why? Because they can't answer his questions. They don't know the answers. I've talked about there's a letter that the IRS was illegal, written in 1985. And actually, I can send you a copy of it. I keep a copy on my computer. But that
I would
letter,
love a copy of that.
Yeah. The easiest way is I'll get it to Sandy and she can.
Thank you.
The easiest way for me, because I have her stuff.
Sure.
So that letter states that the IRS is illegal, and if a person applies for all of their back taxes, they must be paid all of their back taxes. And that was written in 1985 by the commissioner of the IRS. So when we look at this, Trump knows that. The person who found the letter was Edward Snowden. People think he was a traitor. Not. He's just in protective custody in Russia. But the reality is that that letter exists, and it specifically states the IRS is illegal. Because our good friend Juan O'Savin, a lot of our audience knows and follows Juan, one of the sought-after guests in the new media world, and Juan echoes your sentiments on the illegality and unconstitutionality of both the income tax code and the IRS. So, but I would love to see that letter. So, how would you agree we're in the transition? Because even though that letter's there and it's been around and these are the facts, yet, people, if you don't pay your tax, you get rather harassed or end up in prison. So when will that officially come to an end in your estimation? I haven't paid a tax in 4 years. I have not heard a word from the IRS. I'll tell everybody, come get me, IRS, so I can send you the letter for my $5 million that you owe me, or whatever the number is.
I think everyone watching this show wants a copy of that letter. So when I have it, I will get it put up on my website. Okay. And there you can go get it, folks. Thank you for mentioning that. I want to shift gears to the
Federal Reserve. Okay. You wanted me to talk about the Federal Reserve.
Continue.
The Federal Reserve has been absorbed into the Treasury for at least 3 or 4 years. The Federal Reserve is how am I going to put it? Is not a U.S. government organization.
Yes.
Never has been, never will be. It's a private organization run for the bankers. And
Yes.
Trump, in his first term, they moved most of its functions over to the Treasury Department. And because they were doing things that are not legal for a private corporation to do, like printing money. So what he's doing with Powell is he's playing his game. He likes to play games with people, particularly if he knows that they're wrong. And so he'll play with him. He'll play with him for a while longer, and then just close it down, because he's got permission to fire him. The courts gave him that permission within the last 2 weeks. So he'll play.
I remember that.
And that's how Trump works. Keep your enemies close, closer than your friends.
I think you're spot on that analysis. It moves us into the debt. Let's go there for a moment, because the USDebtClock.org just tricked another trillion. We're at 38 trillion now. And that's the federal debt. Never mind the future obligations of the federal government. Never mind the state debt, the municipality debt, and the we the people debt. When you throw all that in, well, who knows how many zeros there are. So having laid down the subject here is debt. How does this debt situation, I've heard a lot of different schools of thought from people I've been interviewing, and I'd like you to weigh in on it. How does this debt situation get resolved as we move through these transitions of the resets?
The debt is going to be covered. Okay, now I've lost my train of thought on the name. By the trust.
There's money held, right? There's hundreds of trillions in trust.
There's $54 quadrillion in the trust.
Quadrillion. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
And all
a lot
of
of zeros.
the debt, a lot of zeros. All of it's millions of trillions of dollars. All of the debt will be covered by that. If it's real. Most of it's not real. The $38 billion we owe is the U.S. Treasury, is the Federal Reserve owes that, not the U.S. government.
Let me interrupt you there. Is that because of the fraudulent system of the Federal Reserve itself that debt gets back on their books, or the majority of?
And it's all owed by the corporation, not by the U.S. Republic. The corporation is bankrupt. The Federal Republic is not.
To our viewers, this sounds like science fiction lunacy movies of interestingness. It's the Colonel, of course, is reporting to you here really the facts from a 40,000 foot view. That is exactly where we are, and in there, people should breathe a sigh of relief. That's why I always say, people say there is no plan. Of course there's a plan. Do you think the United States of America, I'm talking about the constitutional republic, is going to know for sure that our election was stolen and not go to war and do something about it? Of course there's a plan. The plan is unfolding, and things get a century or perhaps centuries, depending on the issue, of problems are being cleansed out right now. And it's not the flick of a switch. It's taking some time for it to actually come down into our daily lives. But this is good news. The Federal Reserve and the IRS, as we know it, is, for all intents and purposes, finished. But when does it, you know what I'm saying? Like, when does the repatriation of some of this stolen wealth come back to us? That would be the next kind of dovetail into this. What does the new currency, the new system look like to you? which we've covered, but the repatriation. So we're going to move the debt back where it belongs. We've got quadrillions of dollars. We've got all the gold stocked away in a couple of hidden places. The Treasury, much of the moves have been made over these last 3, 4, 5 years behind the scenes. The rest is playing out as optics. When do the optics end? These players get moved off the monopoly board, and the money goes where it needs to, including back to the people. In your crystal ball, when do you see this taking place?
Before I say that, I want to talk about the trust for a second. The Saint Germain Trust has been hidden from the people. It's the people's money. It's all the people's money for all their taxes, all their payments of property taxes, all that stuff, and for their birth certificates that were traded. The Saint Germain Trust is the place where all that money is, all that capacity is. It's all gold and silver backed. And the deep state has been hiding that from the people globally, because it's for global settlement, not just for us. And that's the important part. It's global. And so the Saint Germain Trust has already been activated at some level. I don't know what the level is, because you get bits and pieces when you're doing all this, looking around the various people on the internet. But the Saint Germain Trust is starting to show up more and more in various places from various people. That's one trust. There's another trust that I heard about 4 years ago that I haven't heard much about, that is allegedly King Solomon's money from way back when. It's in the Philippines. And from a gold standpoint, you have the 12 elders in China who have been working with the U.S. on the gold-backed currencies. So you look at all of that and you say, okay, we are getting close. I won't say when, because people put out dates. I saw a date today of 7 November. Hey, who knows? I know somebody else who I personally know, who does a lot of internet speaking, and his comment is, it'll happen on a Thursday. I can't tell you what Thursday, but it's going to happen on a Thursday.
Okay. Well, interesting. You know what? If you want to speak about projected dates, I dare not go there. We all made those mistakes, people in my shoes, if you will, over these years. But because the war is fluid, and if we knew, I mean, so would the enemy. So, but let me ask you this: it seems to me, I'm a keep it simple, Sam guy. So you have President Trump talking about big celebrations in July. Yes, of course, it's our nation's 250th birthday. Yes, of course, we're off the 1871 corporation now and all that. It gives us a lot of reason to celebrate. But could it be, just a speculative question, could it be that by July, if we're celebrating block parties all across America, true celebrations, a lot's going to happen between here, the end of October, and July. That's a long time, but yet comes quickly. That July, if we're celebrating at such massive levels, it would seem to me, as I game theoried this out in my head, again, keep it simple, Sam, that some of the things we've been discussing should be official, if you want to say, and the benefits of the repatriation and some of the things you're saying that sound a little crazy to those that haven't been studying. I think these things may come to be the way we're operating come July. Yes or no, or am I wishful thinking, or is it a bad guess, a good guess?
It has to happen before July. People have to know that the arrests have been made. They have to know that the criminals are gone. They have to know that they've got what they call a level of abundance before that. Their bank accounts are going to disappear at some time in the not too distant future. They have to get their quantum card, whatever it is, whether it's a computer and a phone or just a card. They have to have all those things. Then they can celebrate. Trump knows that. And the people have to know what's going on. Now, we have to understand that certain people will never believe it. Will never believe
Correct.
it. I think it's 30%. That's my personal opinion. I think we have 5 to 10% that have a really good knowledge of what's going on. And then we have another 20% that are in pretty good shape. And then there's that 70%, 40% of them will accept what happens, but there's 30% that will never accept it in the near term. 5 years from now, they'll accept it. 5 or 6 years from now.
See, the way I look at it is this. President Trump, obviously, he's got massive skill sets in so many ways, which is why he was invited by the high brass military to help save our nation. And boy, is he demonstrated, boy, the military didn't make a mistake on choosing him. God chose him as well. God doesn't make any mistakes. And so President Trump has demonstrated to the world that he does what he says what he does, and he gets the results, period. That's almost irrefutable, certainly in the economy, which happens to be his expertise, besides his ability to work in the art of deception in war, with the greatest military command behind his back. And so, again, in my simple world, when you look at the results that President Trump had in his first and that dash period, that second dash term, and then 47, today's term, these 3 terms, he has gotten everything done that he's promised and more, and some of it quicker than anticipated. And so now we're entering, perhaps eventually, but we see the beginnings where we can actually say we may live in a world without war, which has never happened in my lifetime. But what I'm getting at here is he, in keeping his promises, if he said he's going to restore the power back to the people and give us back our country, you cannot do that with the Federal Reserve and the IRS doing what they do. It's not possible because they're unconstitutional and illegal, as you just stated, some aspects at least thereof. And so, common sense dictates these things are going away. And if there's quadrillions of wealth in various forms ready to go, and the president has talked about a $2,000 check coming to the taxpayers and stuff. Let's close out this segment with what your views are of how it might work, because there's a lot of ideas floating out there. And I've spoken, again, I invoke Juan O'Savin, and I speak to lots of other people, but Juan on private conversations alluded to exactly what you were just talking about. Each person's got some money coming to them, and in many cases, it's far going to exceed $2,000. How do you see that playing out in a responsible way that doesn't reverse collapse on us from all this money all of a sudden coming into the system?
I see it as, I'm 80 years old, and we go back, we have to have a workforce. But the workforce is going to be paid very well because they will get a portion of what's due them out of the funds plus whatever they earn on their salary. So nobody will be hungry. The homeless will get significant amounts of money. What it will be, I have no idea. I can't give the number. I don't want to give numbers. I hear numbers all the time. And I know that your birth certificate, my birth certificate are worth significant amounts of money. And I know we paid taxes. That's a significant amount. That's all supposed to come back to us. The format for doing that is by age group. And the age groups will get so much here, so much there, so much there, so much there. To include the babies. They will get something, have something. And when they turn 18, they can have it all. It's theirs. So what I see is it's going to be, when you get your wealth card, which will be in the not too distant future, there will be money in your bank account that was in your QFS account that you didn't have before. And they will tell you when you go in to sign up, and some people say that can't happen. It has to happen because they have to give you an NDA so you don't reveal how much money you have to anybody. It could be, I've heard everywhere from $11 million to $200 million for somebody my age. Who knows what the number is? But the number is significant.
All of a sudden, I want to get older. Just little
yeah. But it's age 65 and above, and then 60 to 65, 50 to 60, 40 to 50, 30 to something like that. And so whatever they decide, it will be an individual account. Nobody else will have access to that account. No banker. The QFS will, but it's your frequency and vibration that will determine how much money.
Wow.
Determine how you use that money. Because you can use it any way you want to, but every time you use that card or you use that phone or whatever it is, it's going to be based on your personal frequency, your DNA frequency, and the vibration of your heart. You know, that's how it's going to work. And it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I won't give dates. People give dates all the time. You know, when I was on before, Tulsi Gabbard had said the 1st of January. Now she's saying the 15th of January. So who knows?
Yes,
who knows what the date?
But you know,
even the
Colonel, you've raised in the last few minutes, certainly the whole segment, but this last few minutes, really astonishing and incredible information that may be unbelievable to some people. But if you go back, 150 years or whatever it was, and if you would have explained the concept of a telephone or a car or a plane flying somewhere, people would think you're crazy. Here we are today. People listening to this broadcast have to understand that the technologies that are already there, that they've known about for a long, long time, are only now being accessed and utilized and implemented because the clutches of evil's hands are being removed from these things. This is why it's a spiritual battle between good and evil. And I believe what you just said a moment ago is critically important about our DNA, our vibration. Folks, it's time to raise our vibration, who we are, how we function in life, because that's universal laws. You put out good, good's going to come back to you. It makes all the sense in the world. And it's just a fascinating time to be alive and experience this. But the American people right now, the average Joe Lunch Bucket, Mom Pop Kettle, whatever you want to call us, are bombarded with all kinds of information on all kinds of fronts in this war. And I'm going to interrupt myself and tell our audience, if you want to hear the other issues of this war addressed, you've got to watch the just published today Global Defense War panel with Ricardo Bossi, Colonel Tom Lennox here, Colonel Sellers,
Colonel Sellers.
Derek Johnson. Yeah, incredible panel that we covered a lot of the other things. And if you connect the dots on all this stuff, it all is coming to a head pretty soon. And I just find it fascinating. And last thing I want to close out with, and then any closing comments you'd like to make, is my last sort of question is I've lost it. Anyway, relating to the people's, all of us waiting and waiting, sort of a thing. You mentioned it. We don't have dates, but logic dictates if we're going to be celebrating the dawning of the golden age in July. I think you're right, sir. The big arrest that the people are waiting for, and everyone thinks nothing's happening. Please, everything's happening. Everything's happening. Whether we know about it or we don't know about it, it is happening. But we do know Comey and Mueller and Letitia, and now Mike Pence has been brought in, and from the indictments and the grand juries, the indictments. Soon we're going to be having arrests, charges, and justice. Never mind what's already taken place that may be revealed. So in closing, Colonel, you pretty much said by July, what everyone's on the edge of their seat for will be revealed. Whether it's happened before or it hasn't happened yet, I think it's a little bit of both. It will be revealed, as well as some of these gargantuan moves in the money area, perhaps by July. So any closing comments, sir, before we take a break and bring on the crypto expert?
I would say that people should be ready for an EBS. It's going to happen. There'll be 10 days of darkness. Those 10 days, we don't know when exactly it'll be, but you should be ready and prepared with water, food, etc. The financial piece will happen right after the EBS. And that's pretty much what everybody is saying. So the financial piece will happen right after the EBS. The EBS will be 10 days. You will not get any notification that it's going to happen. It will happen. Trump has released the codes to do it. They've tested it globally. It's a global EBS, not a U.S. EBS. They've trained the people that are going to do the money distribution. That will happen after the EBS. That's what I hear from everything that I see. So, yeah, we need to be ready. And keep your spirits up, because it is going to happen.
I'm just closing out our segment here and thanking you very much for what you've just shared. I'm asking our audience to rewind it later, because this is live now, but will be posted in post-production later, and share this and listen to those last statements. They're very important. I have a follow-up and closing question about that EBS period. We've been warned by folks like yourself and other military and intelligence experts. We've been warned by Dan Bongino. We've been warned by Brigadier General retired Brigadier General Blaine Holt, Juan O'Savin. I mentioned Dan Bongino, and others, names that Sheriff Richard Mack. Very accomplished people from different areas of expertise in military and intelligence. And this common narrative they all have, that we might not have had our final near-death experience of gut punch yet. Meaning that, as we take the wealth back and take the systems back during this darkness and so forth, they're not going to just lay down. They're going to take their final strikes at us. Even retired General Paul Vallée is concerned about infrastructure hits and so forth and so on. Can you comment on what dangers in our communities and in our streets may be coming our way, what we should do, even though we have the Guard and the military taking care of business and protecting the American people? We got to take care of ourselves too. Any closing comments and recommendations? Because once that's done, we're out of harm's way, in my opinion, for quite some time.
Yeah. Some say 1,000 years once all that's done.
Nice. I'll take it. I'll take it.
I believe people should have the capability to protect themselves, whatever that might be. They should be prepared because the National Guard and the military can't be everywhere. And having the ability to protect yourself is important, wherever you might be. And how you protect yourself, that's up to you. But I think you have to be able to protect yourself. And you have to have the food and the water. And because you don't know if the tap water is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I have heard...
Heed the call, folks.
I have heard that we're going to go to free energy. Because it's all there.
Well,
if you go,
yeah,
if you
Nikola
go hug
Tesla
a tree,
is
you'll
quite
feel
happy
the
about
energy.
that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, for your contributions on this show periodically and each month, or the months you join us at the Global Defense War panel, which again I encourage everyone to go listen to. We cover everything we didn't cover in this broadcast on that broadcast. You've laid down a lot of good information for our viewers, and I want to thank you for your America and the world. Thanks you for your service and your continued service as a civilian. Thank you very much, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox. Thank you, sir. I'll be right back after this important announcement.
Your hard-earned assets are under attack and may be in harm's way. Many people are confused, thus concerned about what is going on with the currency, the markets, and the economy. A great change is underway. With the Private Wealth Coach Consult, of which John Michael Chambers discusses in greater detail in Module 10 of the Wealth Coach University, you can break through procrastination as you become informed, empowered, and connected. JMC has created a system whereby you can avail yourself to a team of like-minded professionals to help you navigate this unprecedented minefield and meet privately with John Michael Chambers. The Wealth Coach University was launched based upon years of experience as a successful former financial advisor to help you, Goots, get out of the system.